Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. We are so happy to have you back for our podcast in which we discuss individual horror films. We critique, analyze, and discuss these individual horror films in order to give you a more kind of clearer idea on some of the great movies out there. Well, I take that back. Some of the great movies that we think are great, and some of the movies out there that maybe not be so great. But thankfully, one of the movie that we are discussing for today's episode is one that I believe that all three of my guests, or three of us all together, enjoy with relish. And I would like to thank Nate Hill and Thomas Tillarello to show. Thank you guys.
Good to be here at long last. Took us a moment, but we're finally going to make this podcast happen.
Yes. Tonight is the night.
For the hidden.
The Hidden, yes. I was about to say, the movie we are discussing tonight is The Hidden, which is a kind of a melding of multiple different genres, a police procedural and an alien invasion flick and kind of body horror thing going all in at once. And it's going to be really interesting to have a conversation about this movie because I actually grew up watching this movie and absolutely loved it. Probably saw it more times than I probably ever should have. So to get the conversation started, I'm going to ask both of you a little bit about what your impressions were when you first saw the movie. So let's start off with you, Nate. Tell us a little bit about your impressions of this movie.
My impressions of the movie. I think I first saw The Hidden when I was a wee lad during reruns on Sunday afternoon when they would play all kinds of random horror things on the TV. And other times, because this is a film that just keeps... it kept being showed up on a broadcast TV.
Yes.
Through different edits and whatnot. And every time, it's always been enjoyable, I've found. This is a movie that holds up on a rewatch.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Thomas?
Well, this is a movie that, funny you watched it on Sunday afternoon. I was first exposed to this movie when I was also a wee lad on a Saturday afternoon. Because for me, growing up in St. Petersburg, Florida, our horror host of the Saturday afternoons was Dr. Paul Bearer. And I've talked about Dr. Paul a couple of times on here, and I'm still going to talk to him more because there's so many great and obscure and terrible horror movies that Dr. Paul introduced us to over the years. He was the main horror host of WTBS, I think, on Superstation St. Petersburg, Florida from the mid-90s. Mm-hmm. And I think he passed away in like 96, 97, and but he was so beloved in his community. He even led the parade in Gasparilla down there. And I remember him doing like specials from Six Flags. It was so great. I'm sad that I never got to meet him, but he would basically come in dressed like a mortician and have mortician's makeup on. And he would come debut his, talk about his show from the Tenement Castle, which I guess is like a tenement apartment, but it's a castle. And so this is one of the movies that came on. And it was kind of very different from a lot of the movies that he would show, because there was a lot of Godzilla movies, a lot of older. I never saw him play any of the Universal classics. There were a few Hammers. I think I saw the Reptile there at one point, and but The Hidden just started, and we'll get into it. But like this movie starts mid car chase almost. And I was like, "Ooh, what is this? What is this? Where's the monster in this? I'm just seeing a police shootout, a guy robbing a bank, and what the heck?" And then, like all of a sudden, a freaking beetle worm comes out of a man's mouth and goes into another man's mouth, and I'm like, okay. And I think my mom walked in just as that was happening, and it grossed her right the heck out, and she left. And I just stayed to watch it. Actually, I'm still kind of surprised that whole parasite passing moment was shown on TV and on network TV on a Saturday afternoon without any censoring because it's gross.
It's very gross. It's pretty gross.
Gross doesn't mean it's horrifying.
No, it doesn't. But in this case, it kind of was. But I watched the whole thing, and what blew me away was the characters and how seriously and yet unseriously it took itself. It is a police procedural, but it's more of a buddy cop movie. Like, it's like Lethal Weapon with aliens.
Fair description.
Yeah, but it's also like so well written and so much about like what it means to be human, but it doesn't do it in such a kind of Star Trek-y, beats you over the head with it. And it's just got great action sequences, really great special effects, and the ending blew my mind. We'll get into it, but it was like one of those, such an atypical ending for this kind of movie that just leaves you wondering, wait, what? And it leaves the possibilities so wide for a great sequel that never showed up because we got a really bad one instead. But we'll get into that.
Well, before we go farther, can I read the description from IMDb just really quick to
go
give
ahead.
people more of a grounding of what we're talking about here, real quick. According to IMDb, an alien parasite with the ability to possess human bodies goes on a violent crime spree in L.A., committing dozens of murders and robberies. In pursuit of the extraterrestrial criminal is an FBI agent and a local officer investigating the rash of violence. As they close in on the vicious intruder, the city faces a brutal threat like no other it has ever encountered. That's the hidden. Thanks, IMDb.
You are IMDb, always right in everything they say and or do, of course. I like to put it as like, see, the recipe for this movie is thus, folks. Put the Terminator and Lethal Weapon and add Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks and a nice healthy dose of Cronenberg body horror, and you've got this movie. Just turn the blender on or turn your Ninja blender on and just hit frappe, and you've got it.
This is definitely one of many 1980s movies that was influenced by the Terminator.
For sure. But I feel like over the years, it's clearly gotten a fan base, but it's still not as big enough. And I think that's why we are talking about it to you all tonight, because I want to grow the fan base of this movie, because it is still criminally underseen. And just about everybody I talk to about it who hasn't seen it sees it and they go, wow, that was pretty rad. And you know what? It is.
Well, and you're right. It's got a great opening scene. They really slam you into everything.
Well, that's because the movie plays like a action film instead of a horror film. It may have the body horror elements in it, but it definitely is aiming for the audience that loves their action films. And you just have this alien kind of story that's embedded within it. Kind of like Terminator, where you have an action film that's embedded with a killing robot.
And this is definitely a guy's film, I gotta say. This is the type of film you can just switch off, drink a bit while you watch it, and still have no problem following what's a pretty simple storyline, actually.
It's simple, but it's not stupid. It's not. Make no mistake. This movie is simple, but it is not dumb. And don't take our words for it. Just look at the numbers. I looked this up here. It's sitting pretty at a 7.0 cinema score on IMDb. 7.0. It has over 9.1 thousand 4-star reviews on Letterboxd, people. And yet, this motion picture is not streaming anywhere except Amazon, and you have to pay for it. And that's not right.
You're paying for it anyways, even if it's on a streaming service, dude. You're either paying for it through ads or subscription fees. So you're still paying for it regardless.
I'm surprised it's not on their, at least on their free service on Amazon. What's it called? Freevee, I think?
No, just Amazon Prime.
Huh. Well,
yeah. No, it's not there. Believe me, I've looked.
Well, no, because I would assume that the rights issues is why it is not streaming. You'd have to, whoever owns the rights issues, if it's not complicated, are probably still holding on to them. Because I
can't even find a pirate. I can't even find a pirate version of this on YouTube with Spanish subtitles.
Oh, geez.
Which really can, but not this one. Nope, you got to use physical freaking media for this.
Yeah. Well, I have. My DVD is a double feature with with this one and its sequel. So, and that's probably the only way you can get the sequel is by buying the double feature version I have, because I don't think the sequel was ever released on DVD by itself.
No, I don't think so.
No one would even dare try and release that sequel by itself. But the thing about this film, which is why it's held such a great impact for me, is the fact that it has Kyle MacLachlan, who I absolutely love as an actor, and Claudia Christian, who this is the first movie I remember seeing her in which I kind of had a huge crush on her. Still do a little bit, because she's still a very attractive woman, and she's done some amazing stuff since starring as the stripper in this movie.
Possibly best known for her role in Babylon 5.
Yes. But she's also a writer. I've read her books, and she's also currently doing like a comic book sequel to that through Kickstarter, I believe. So so she hasn't stopped. So
she's doing a sequel to which series?
Babylon 5. I don't watch. I've never seen it. Surprisingly, considering that I like Claudia Christian so much, I've still never seen Babylon 5.
That is a discussion.
I know.
We can't let ourselves be sidetracked here.
We'll save that for Conversations in Science Fiction, a podcast that'll probably.
We get sidetracked all the time, but the thing is, unlike some of the other 80s sci-fi and or horror films, this one had a lot of character actors who would go on to do much bigger roles in other stuff. But for the most part, Kyle MacLachlan, everyone knows from fucking Twin Peaks and the original 84 Dune, as well as a multitude of other films, especially with David Lynch, because those two did several projects all together. And
Showgirls, but
I was about to say that, the infamous Showgirls.
Yeah, I mean, MacLachlan here, this is like post-Dune, post-Blue Velvet. I think this is a pre-Twin Peaks, too.
He did this 3 years before playing Agent Cooper.
So this basically is dress rehearsal for Agent Dale Cooper.
Yes.
He's also an FBI agent who is not what he seems. And what I love about his performance is that he's like, he kind of plays it almost as like Jeff Goldblum's Starman kind of version of what an alien is supposed to be, where they're kind of removed in almost an ethereal sort of way.
Are you talking about Jeff Bridges in Starman?
Correct. Yes, I'm sorry. I got my Jeffs mixed up. Yeah. And dude mixed up, and that's not.
No, I get you. That's actually a great reference. I would actually agree with you 100% on that. Those two, I definitely believe that and see that in this movie.
Yeah,
he definitely does do a good alien.
Yeah. It's like he's an alien who, like, you look at this person and you just think there's something odd about him. You just don't know what it is. He's just off.
Well, he has odd mannerisms, and he doesn't understand everything in the human culture. Obviously, because he does things weird in the wrong way, as his partner points out every time he does something weird and unusual. But that's part of the allure of following this character around. He's not like Sean Bean's character in the original The Terminator, which is just a soldier who's meant to go out there and protect what's her face, Sarah Connor. This guy who is more or less like a bounty hunter or a police in his own world he's a police that seems really off because he's an alien police who doesn't understand human emotions or human characteristics or anything like that. It reminds me of the bounty hunters in the movie Critters.
I can see that, but I feel like he's a little more intelligent than the bounty hunters and Critters, who just feel I think the bounty hunters and Critters just like haphazardly destroy things for no good while they're looking for the critters, and they'll kill the critters in spite of themselves instead of because of.
No, I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah, but his character is more like he's got this quiet inner strength that just boils up to the surface slowly, and you realize like he's on a quest to kill the bad alien that we see in the beginning of this movie, because it killed his family. Mm-hmm. That's all I know. That's all that. It's like he's trying to explain it to his partner's family, whether he's over for dinner at their house. And I guess he's trying to explain it in the best way that a human brain can understand it. That this particular alien parasite, he's been chasing it throughout the solar systems, throughout the galaxy for God knows how long. Just because it's a typical kind of cop revenge story.
Yep.
He killed my family. I'm going to hunt him down and destroy him. And the only way he can destroy this thing is through this little alien space gun that is clearly not made for a human hand. It's very awkward, but this tiny silver-looking, globular-looking thing shoots a big yellow laser that would make it explode. But he can only do it when he's between bodies. When the penis alien lizard, I mean not lizard, like when the
bug parasite alien.
Yeah, when he worms his way out of a body, which can only happen when the body, said host, is so badly damaged, it will come out usually of the mouth. Thank God.
And by damaged, that usually translates to being riddled with bullets.
Yeah, or thrown off a building, or stuff like that. So he can only wait until that happens and then shoot it with the laser beam. So he eventually tells. We get all this in piecemeal throughout the movie as it goes. There's no exposition dump, which is part of what makes great writing. So yeah, that's his whole character, and I think he's great. Let's not scoot over the other side of this coin here, Mr. Michael Nouri, who plays the partner, the human partner. He's kind of a bland sort of leading man from the 80s. He's probably best known for you guys, everybody out there, as the guy in Flashdance. Like, the guy.
I heard this, actually.
That's pretty much his thing.
Never actually saw Flashdance myself.
Me neither. Although he does have a connection to Lethal Weapon. Apparently, he was first running to play Martin Riggs in Lethal Weapon 1.
Oh.
But Mel Gibson got the part instead. So I guess everything worked out for the better.
Not to say Michael Nouri does have on-screen presence.
Yeah, he's still working. He's playing a guy named Ben Schwartz on the show Yellowstone. So
yeah, I think it was recurring for 3 seasons of Yellowstone. That's what I heard.
I haven't watched Yellowstone yet. I just started. I'm still in the first season, so. But the ideal for his character is that he's like your typical detective / cop who is actually kind of smarter than the other cops because he figures stuff out faster. But he also is like the normal, seasoned pro, doesn't want to be partnered with someone. So you have that's where you get the buddy cop aspect, that we see from Lethal Weapon and the Shanghai Noon and Nights and all the other ones where you get the one cop who doesn't want to be partnered with someone else.
It's rare that you would meet a cop, a police detective on screen who actually wants to partner up with somebody else.
Least of all with a guy from the FBI, and we all know from many bad and good action movies throughout the years that the feds and the cops hate each other. That's just a fact.
That's the myth of Hollywood. It may be real life too, but it's definitely what has been portrayed in cop and police films throughout time. But some of the things in this film that make it interesting is that his character is trying to figure things out, whereas Kyle MacLachlan's character already knows everything, and he's telling him certain aspects of what the perp is going to do and not do. And it seems to not make sense to the regular cop, which is quite funny because this alien likes to joyride, likes to have fun. And this is not a typical alien that you see in any other movie that I'm aware of, where the alien is simply out there to have a joyride experience with life.
I love the fact that the alien parasite monster is a huge fan of 80s hair metal. I mean, that was hilarious. There's another great moment where he hears country music for the first time on some kind of, I think it was a cassette player. And his response to the country music was to pick up the cassette player and just throw it to the ground and just smash it.
Yeah.
That is the proper response for that, actually. Like, yeah, both the alien characters in this movie have very specific tastes, which is another great the sense of humor and characterization in this movie. Like, I don't know if you noticed this, but the bad alien, always seems to steal Ferraris without fail. He will steal a Ferrari, eat lots of junk and beer, and just steal guns and just start randomly shooting people, stealing money, and of course, when he possesses Claudia Christian's character, he goes and she goes and bangs somebody in a car and then kills him.
Which it's never quite clear how the guy dies. Apparently, he was boned to death. Because, initially in the scene, you do start hear groans of pleasure happening in the car, but then it turns to screams of pain, and he goes, "Oh God, no, why?" And he never. Basically, yeah, he was boned to death, and then you just hear these things, and then his body is dumped out of the car, and the Claudia Schiffer alien drives off.
I love how you called Claudia Schiffer.
Oh, excuse me, Claudia Christian.
That also would have been a great movie. But yeah, so it's it has very particular tastes, and it wants to have this super hyper hedonistic existence, where on the other hand, Kyle MacLachlan's character always steals Porsches, and he has very kind of high tastes. He probably would eat some caviar if he was given the chance, but he's not there to have fun. He's there.
He can't actually handle alcohol, it turns out.
Yeah, he can't handle alcohol.
Yeah, that's right. He won't even drink. Exactly. Because as you find out later that even though it's never really very clear until the sequel, which I'm not even going to consider it canon anyway. But it's never really very clear throughout the movie whether or not these beings are part of the same species. It doesn't seem like they are at all. But in the second one, it says, yes, they are, because apparently and again, this is coming from the sequel, because Kyle MacLachlan's entity as a ball of light coming out of somebody. So it's more like
angelic vomit coming out of him.
There you go, angel vomit. So he's angel vomit, whereas the other guy is a giant worm, penis, tentacled beetle thing.
You are stuck on this weird worm penis thing.
What? It's an alien parasite bug. Sure, I didn't catch the whole penis thing.
Oh, come on,
character design, but I don't know. Maybe I'll take another look at this bug thing. But
I'm saying the alien bug thing, like you are, Nate. I don't know where Thomas is getting this whole alien penis thing. That's just.
And
but I'm kind of worried about you here, Thomas. You doing okay? Or
well, there is a sexual kind of tension in the film.
Yeah.
So I could, it's an odd movie in that respect, because a lot of the stuff is visually told, and like you said, the information about the aliens is kind of parcels out throughout the movie. It's not like exposition in one scene or anything like that. It's kind of parcels out, which is a really good way of doing the movie, because to be honest with you, from the very beginning, you kind of are getting an ideal that there's only there's just the one alien, and he's a criminal, and someone's chasing after the alien for a long time until we start getting more information throughout the film. That's one of the great things about this film, because it plays up that more action film aspects, and it doesn't have time to stop and take a breath in order to tell you some exposition. There's no long scenes like that.
Yeah, that's part of what it's great. It's it's got a nice pace to it.
Yes,
super boring. And you get to see Michael Norrie's character. He's not dull or anything, because you do get to see his home life, and and especially when you see it beforehand, but you also see it at the dinner scene where he feels like, hey, you should meet my family at some point. So they have a combative relationship, but they don't hate each other. It's not like, the beginning of Lethal Weapon,
And the thing is, I actually like that because it actually humanizes Kyle MacLachlan's character in the film, and you kind of get that sense of what he lost when he started religiously chasing after the evil alien, the bad alien, because and then how close he gets to his partner's family in just those couple of scenes.
Yeah, and by the way, we've been kind of very kind of on the surface here with this, and hopefully we've sold you who haven't seen this movie yet, which apparently is quite a few of you out there, to just seek it out. But now we're gonna get into some spoiler territory, I think, like really deep spoiler stuff, because we have to show well, first of all, we have to talk about how the stakes get raised, and the brilliant ending to this movie, and the build up to the climax and all that. It's wild. So spoilers, folks. Okay.
Spoilers. When they listen to our show, they should assume that we're going to spoil the movie. Now, I remember when we started the show that we were trying not to do spoilers, but it's not as fun to talk about the movie if we don't actually talk about the movie.
I can't imagine that lasted long. But, yeah.
Okay.
Stakes being raised. So,
I'm sorry. What were you saying?
He said stakes being raised.
Oh, actually, yeah, we got to that, but I was wondering to talk about there's a segment in the middle of the movie where the trail runs cold. Which, by the way, we step back for a moment and think about this, where trying to imagine this scenario from the perspective of a guy who doesn't know that there is an alien parasite hopping around from body to body. From Michael Norrie's perspective, random, seemingly mild-mannered people and a stripper are all turning violent and just tearing the town apart for no reason, no motivation whatsoever, which is kind of I think indicative of sort of this 80s fear of random violence, violent crime.
Mm-hmm.
Which now that I think about it is a really interesting metaphor for that phenomenon, which is to say what if this is why it's not human beings, it's from the stars. But when you're chasing a body hopping alien, sometimes you can lose the trail, because I think there's somebody, I think this is right after Claudia Christian jumps out of the building after getting shot and crashes flat on the ground, and at this point we think, oh, this thing's done for. There's no humans around. In comes a dog.
Quick note before we go on, Claudia Christensen, she gets not just shot a couple times, she takes an absurd number of bullets in the shootout with Kyle MacLachlan and Agent Norrie, and it's pretty nuts. There's a moment where the medics go. Take a look at her body, and they're I forget how many bullets they said they noted in her, but it was 67 shots or something like that, to that effect.
Well, that reminds me at the beginning of the movie where the first guy who got killed, I think Michael Norrie checks in with the doctor, and the doctor's yeah, the guy probably won't survive the night. He's yeah, no crap. It's this kind of thing here. But yeah, but the thing comes out of her, and there's a dog that was there, and then it was gone. This is a sheepdog or something. So up to this point, we've not only seen it do humans, but apparently it can go into a dog. And that's how it escapes. And MacLachlan's I don't know what am I going to do? Where's it going to go? And that's when Michael Norrie says, hey, why don't you basically just take a break? And that's when he has dinner with his family and gets an idea of what it's like to be human and laugh and see what a family is like on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Probably very different from the glowy alien existence that he has in...
One would think.
One would think, yeah. But I think it's they have fleshly bodies, whereas he exists as pure energy. So he doesn't know what it's like to really live in a body that's his own. And he doesn't know what it's like to grow up in a body. He doesn't know what it's like to be a mother, to be a father, or have children hold their hand, which, suggests that I think that's kind of how this movie ends, with that one shot of them holding a hand of a child. And So it's kind of, there's almost this kind of like Gnostic kind of tension, this idea of, you know, is there, is a non-bodied existence more spiritual or more enlightened than a physical, earthly, fleshly, hedonistic kind of existence? So that's the tension that's kind of at the heart of this, which I think really comes out in that scene. And of course, we get some little, tidbits as to what his existence is like out there, without him just saying to his family, "Yeah, I'm an alien." Although, by the way, when he finally does reveal to Nori later on that he is an alien, at first it's like, "Yeah, okay." He's like, "You believe me?" They're like, "Yeah, sure." Cut to jail. So he puts him right in lockup. Like,
We need to make one quick more comment about the dog. While the alien is inside the dog and taking possession of it, there's this odd moment where the dog is studying himself in the mirror. He's going, look at that. And then he actually, approaches the dog's owner, makes an impressive leap, and knocks out a full-grown human man with just what did he do? I think he collided into it, knocked him over, and he hit his head, something like that.
Man, thanks.
So for the first, may be the only time that I know of where a dog actually knocks a human being unconscious on film.
I'm not sure if there's any other time I could think of, but it does remind me of one time where I've seen a dog push a human off a cliff. That was in the original Hills Have Eyes. The dog Beast attacks one of the cannibals and pushes him straight off the cliff, and I'm like, oh! At that moment, I remember good dog. Boy.
Well, we've seen horror films with dogs, and if you've seen the movie Man's Best Friend, that genetically enhanced dog kills a lot of people. So dogs are not always nice animals.
Yeah, The Thing. And
the go-to move of a dog would be to bite, go for the throat or the groin or the wrists.
No, but Nate, you have to understand. I'm sorry, Nate. Look, dude. He wants that host. He doesn't want to be a dog. A dog can't drive Ferraris.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he leaves his dog so fast. It's the only body he switches without the body being dead or almost on the verge of death. This is a dog. He can't do anything in the dog's body.
But it's a very strategic move. Then it's a very unlikely move that you would see a canine make.
Oh, yeah. But, like I said, watch Man's Best Friend and you see the dog swallow a whole cat.
I have no recollection of that scene from the movie.
Have you seen it?
It's been a long time now, but I've certainly seen it, yeah.
Oh, it exists, trust me. I can vouch. It totally exists.
Swallow an entire cat.
Yeah, the dog climbs up the tree using one of its animal power abilities and swallows the cat. And I haven't seen that movie in decades, but I remember certain scenes from it because it was a Lance Henriksen movie and Ali Sheedy, and I loved it.
I still need to see the original film, The Breed. That's becomes something of a cult classic. Not the remake, the original. What was it? Late 90s, early 2000s?
I don't know. There's lots of movies called The Breed now. You'd have to be very specific.
Wait, isn't that the one with the killer pack of wild dogs that roams around killing people?
They're on an island. Yeah.
So, okay. I've heard
killer
of that.
Pack of dogs hunting down youths on an island.
I'm sure I've seen it. I've seen several movies called The Breed. They all kind of mix in my head. Because if I'm going to watch a movie about a pack of dogs like that, I'll watch the movie The Pack, which I think.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I don't know.
So.
But getting back to this movie, I want to point out something that maybe I only noticed recently.
Okay.
And maybe you noticed it too. It's how grounded this space cop Parasite movie is in terms of special effects. This is kind of inspiring in the sense that a low-budget filmmaker today could probably do something like this because there's no spaceships in this alien movie.
No.
There's no alien tech except for this little gun. There's no Stargates. there's no like explanation of how the aliens even got to this planet, or maybe they were like always here. Maybe they get here on meteors, or we don't know. McLaughlin doesn't tell us, and we don't see anything. They're just here.
Well, yeah, we just know that they came from another city before they made their way here, because that's where Kyle MacLachlan's from. His character is from another city, and that's where he started his chase of the alien.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I think it starts in a forest, as like the first person the parasite alien possesses was a park ranger.
Yeah,
I recall that being mentioned.
I could totally see Kyle MacLachlan, his 20-year-old Kyle MacLachlan wearing a park ranger outfit, looking at the woods like, oh, it's good to be a park ranger. And all of a sudden he gets conked on the head and dies. And then a alien glowing ball parasite comes into his body and gets him up and just walks away. And the poor park rangers who are with him like, man, what happened to Dale today? Yeah, it's really weird, isn't it? I'm just imagining this is like close to Canada because that's the way I picture it. He just walked up one day. Yeah, we don't know what happened to him, man. So now an FBI agent somewhere in LA. Look, I saw a picture of him in the newspaper. Yeah, weird.
Oh, Jesus.
So you're saying this all started in Canada then?
It could.
I don't know where it started.
Weird things happen in Canada too, man. Gosh.
Oh my God.
Well, speaking of weird, but also funny, I think one of my favorite scenes in this movie is when, after, like I mentioned before, Kyle gets thrown into county lockup by Michael Nouri because he thinks he's a loon. This is kind of where the bad alien, having now possessed a new body, just comes in Terminator style and starts shooting the place, blasting all Danny DeVito like with a machine gun that he stole from lockup. And he's coming there presumably to kill MacLachlan. And Nouri comes into the rescue and unlocks him, and they go into a little standoff. And by the way, point of interest here, ladies and gentlemen, the cellmate to Kyle MacLachlan's character, played by a young Danny Trejo.
Mm-hmm.
His first on-screen appearance.
Is it?
No, that would be Runaway. He was like, because that was like how he got started during the boxing scene in Runaway Train, because that's a whole other story. But anyway, like a kid that he was mentoring was afraid that he would do drugs on the set of Runaway Train because there was tons of cocaine everywhere. So Danny's like, okay, I'll do it. And then somebody said, hey, that Mexican guy, he could be one of the boxers in the Mexican boxing prison scene. And that's how he got his start. So that's his first thing. So yeah, that's God bless Danny Trejo. You're still out there, man. We love you.
He does about 20 movies a year.
Yeah, man, and he's got his own taco restaurant. Yeah. So anyway, they're having a shootout in the hallway, and MacLachlan's standing there with his Beretta, and he's having a conversation. I think it's probably the only conversation that he has with his enemy, the evil alien. Mm-hmm. And they're like complaining basically about the types of bodies that they have to work with. The bad alien's like, how do you like being human? And he's like, it's all right. and then the bad alien goes, it's better than being Altarian. Altarians are such filthy people. And they go back to shooting.
Yeah, it's just those little tidbits there that makes you realize that there's a bigger story at play, but we're not privy to that. Just like we don't see their spaceships when they land, we don't see any of that type of stuff there. We know it's there in the background, and part of the story, part of the fabric that makes the movie, but it's not important to the story being told in front of our eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you have to. I mean, I think movies like this stand as a testament to saying, hey guys, you don't have to pretend to be Christopher Nolan. You don't have to have your characters say what the plot is as they go around. You don't have to dump exposition every 5 minutes. We don't have to know everything. We don't have to be as literal about everything too. Like I was reading an article the other day that there's a plague in cinema now called the new literalism. And they're using examples like The Substance and Honora, which won Best Picture. That nowadays, that there are aspects of that movie's script that seem to be like, just like the writers feel the need to like sledgehammer us with the obvious otherwise obvious fact that Anora is a Cinderella story by literally saying, "Hey, it's like Cinderella" in the dialogue, or things like that. And apparently, I guess this generation of screenwriters either thinks that Gen Z or Gen Y or whatever is so dumb that they can't pick up on that stuff. I don't know why.
I think as long as those type of movies are still popular and they become more popular, people will still keep thinking that is the way to go in terms of future projects. Back in the 80s, everyone was doing every different type of movie, story, and everything in every genre in order to find out what would hit audiences. There was no consistency in the 80s. It was take all kind of attitude. And that's why this film was probably made, because it is not a typical sci-fi movie. It's not a typical action movie. It blends in multiple different genres and has become a cult classic. I actually don't know how successful it was, but either it was successful theatrically or it was successful on VHS enough so that they built a sequel around it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It was successful on VHS, and it plays very well on the small screen because like every shot is kind of tight. Everything is very like indoors or on the streets. It's very street level sci-fi action. So it probably plays much better on a small screen than it ever did in the theaters. And we'd be remiss, since we're talking about the filmmaking side of this, if we didn't at least mention the director of this daggum movie, a man named Jack L. Shoulder.
Mm-hmm. Who did a lot of stuff for a little bit amount of time. I don't think he's done anything recently at all, but he did some films around, the 90s? Or 80s, 90s?
He is the director of such classics as Wishmaster 2, Evil Never Dies, Sketch Artist 2, Hands That See. He did a lot of sequels.
Yeah.
And Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 2.
Nightmare on Elm Street 2, yes, classic. And he also did Mortal Kombat Conquest. But he's probably best. Yeah, he's probably best remembered, though, by horror fans, like you said, for directing Nightmare on Elm Street 2, a.k.a. The Queer Nightmare. And this is, which he says is hands down his favorite movie that he's ever did. I'm sorry, not Nightmare. He says The Hidden. Movie that he ever did.
I got your point.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to be clear. But yeah, you're right, Kevin. He hasn't done anything recently because apparently he retired from directing in 2004 after he did the shark movie 12 Days of Terror. Maybe that movie just soured him off the whole thing. He's like, I did my crappy shark movie. I'm done.
Well, it's one of those things where, he was doing theatrical movies when he started off, but as his career went along, he kept doing probably straight to DVD films. And after a while, if you're not raising the bar in terms of your career, you just kind of coasting. He probably just stopped. Unfortunately, that happened to a lot of great directors from the 80s, where once they got into the 90s and early aughts, 2000s, they just stopped directing. They weren't getting the projects, or they went to television.
Yeah.
A lot of people went to television, literally went to television.
Yeah. But nowadays, of course, there is no difference between television and movies because of streaming. Now, they're the same pretty much.
I still think most, in theory, unless you're working for like Apple, Disney, or Netflix, your television show is still going to be relatively cost conscious. Unlike cost conscious. Cost conscious.
Cost conscious.
Yeah, see, I'm sorry. I have a lisp today because of my tongue injury, so it may be a little bit difficult to hear me sometimes. But cost conscious.
Oh, cost. Like money.
Yes, money.
I thought, I don't know why, Kevin, I thought you were saying cough as in conscious. like what? They think that if you cough, your brain is wiped for a second and you can't follow the plot? Is that what it is?
Well, keep in mind, Netflix, Disney, and Apple TV, who has an endless budget because they have more money than everyone, and they don't care if their movies tank or not, are willing to spend huge amounts of money for their small amounts of film, except for Netflix, who spends a shit ton of money for a shit ton of movies. But a lot of the other ones, like Paramount and the rest of them, don't spend a whole lot of money for movies because they don't make a whole bunch of straight to streaming movies. They don't make a whole bunch of straight to streaming TV shows. They are very limited on the amount of TV shows that they do that are straight to the streaming platform. And so they're going to be, penny pinching along those lines. I mean,
yeah, I mean, like this movie would easily have just gone straight to streaming.
Nowadays, it would have went straight to streaming. But back then, it went theatrical, like so many other great movies of the 80s and 90s. Theatrical releases nowadays are made for movies that either cost $150 million or they're made for movies that you could, like anything by Jason Blum that can get away with $1 million to $5 million budget. The 45 million and let's say 25 to $65 million budget movies are kind of going to streaming if they're even being made at all. So stuff like this movie, which I guarantee, I don't know what the budget is, but I can't imagine it being that much, to be honest with you, by 80s standards of budgets. Got a theatrical release. And, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 got a theatrical release. That didn't cost that much money. It made a huge profit. Jack Shoulder was, making movies that got theatrical releases. But then when you start making lower end movies straight to video sequels, it's not encouraging, sad because this is such a visually stunning movie and it still holds up today. And I mean, even for Nightmare on Elm Street 2, which is visually really well done as well, he probably can't, like a lot of the directors from that era, he can't replicate that in this day and age. Plus, everything being shot on video. They were shooting this shit on film.
Yeah, and that's why this movie still looks good because it was shot on film, motherfuckers.
It's not CGI.
Nope,
they went out there and did these car chases.
In fact, like I was looking at again, I think I'm talking about the first parasite transference. Like you see it come out of his mouth and go like from one throat to down in the other guy's throat, and I'm like, I know it's a puppet, but how the heck get in there? And it's just so wild. And apparently it's stop motion animation. Like they used a couple of seconds of stop motion and sold it. And it's just so simple and so effective. So learn from those lessons, young filmmakers.
Well,
you do it.
And unfortunately for us nowadays, they'd have now newer filmmakers with all the CGI would have this big reveal of both aliens probably duking it out in their original forms too.
That would be weird. Like you just see the little.
That certainly would be.
Yeah.
An amorphous angel yellow glowing energy thing versus this bug-like parasite slug creature.
It would be like watching, what was it, Independence Day Resurgence, where they have giant fucking aliens come out of nowhere for no apparent reason. We gotta have a queen alien. No, you don't. What the hell, dude?
Come on, kaijus are cool. We can get a kaiju in here.
We can get a kaiju in there. Jesus. No, we don't need that shit. Plus,
I'm glad I missed that.
I don't remember that movie, and I've seen it twice. I'm like, dude, I don't even know why they made a sequel. But
well, this actually leads us to discussing what they actually did for the climax of this movie, which is awesome. So you gotta back up a little bit and show like how they set up this thing, which is brilliant. Like,
well, they set it up throughout the whole film. They've been setting up this. I think he's senator who's going to become the president or something.
No. This comes almost. The president thing almost comes out of nowhere. That's the stakes that get raised. But what I was telling you about earlier is that the characters. You had Michael Nuri, and you almost think that he is the main character of this movie because he's the human character. Because we have human bias, we think we want to identify with the human character. But then he gets shot, fatally wounded, it seems. And McLaughlin is like trying to help him, but he's in the hospital. We're not sure he's going to make it, but he's got to go on and try and find the parasite. So now this time it's personal. This time it's got my friend. And so
wasn't personal after he killed my family, but damn it, he killed my friend now.
It's
My
extra
human
personal.
friend.
You have almost killed the man who taught me how to be human. Anyway, so, but yeah, he goes, and the guy is, well, anyway, the alien has taken the possession of a senator, and the senator's coming to do a speech, unbeknownst to the alien, who's just like haphazardly, like just going along with whatever. And they put him up on this podium, and outside security, in comes Kyle MacLachlan showing up, flashing his FBI badge, and he's got a big burly knapsack with him. And security guy's like, "Yeah, what's this?" And he's like, "Security equipment." The guy's like, "Show me." And MacLachlan's like, "Okay." And he zips open the bag and fake out punches the guy, and then just runs for it. And also, a fun fact: the press secretary standing beside the bad alien who wants to be president. I mean, he literally, the reporters ask him, "Are you going to run for president?" And the alien's like, "Ooh, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I want to be president." The press secretary standing next to him is none other than Lin Shaye.
Lin Shaye.
Horror icon from Insidious and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Among others.
Among many others. So she's right there. And front seat to the action as MacLachlan just annihilates this guy. Like first of all, he's getting shot by all the security people, just like squibs blowing up on his arms and his back, and he just keeps trucking along. And what's in the bag? What's in the bag? Pulls out the bag. It's this gigantic flamethrower.
Which isn't a surprise, to be honest.
Because it was set up earlier in the movie.
In the one part of the movie, I thought that was always ham-fisted and heavy-handed. I always thought they could have set up that flamethrower in a more natural way. That's my only small quibble. Only small quibble here.
I mean, I will say, now that I'm looking at it that way, it does beg the question, wait a minute, why didn't he think of this before? Because that's the perfect way to get this thing out. Because that's what he does, is this, but the way they shoot in this slow motion epic thing where he's there, they confront each other, and just burns the guy, and then out comes the alien, and out comes the little ray gun. And man, the only thing that's missing here is just a kind of Schwarzenegger-esque one-liner, and just which later on I will give you what I think would have been great Schwarzenegger one-liners for that explosion.
And by the way, this is all happening on live television in front of reporters in public.
Thank you. I didn't realize that, but yes, the cameras are catching all of this.
The national audience of the United States just had their entire reality shattered. You know, this is like a biblical event for everybody watching.
Aliens
Proof
exist.
Of alien life forms and like this violent, horrendous thing happening to a now presidential candidate. And never mind the trauma for the children watching. You know, you got to figure there's a couple out there.
Gotta be, yeah. And like, I mean, I'm just going to go into it, ladies and gentlemen. Here is my Schwarzenegger alternators. For those of you who don't know, for moments like this, for the kill shot at the climax, usually, I think, if Schwarzenegger had been cast, they would have said something kind of like this. Which, by the way, Schwarzenegger was considered for the Michael Nouri part in this movie, which would have been weird.
Really weird.
Yeah, I know.
Thing to consider, yeah.
But anyway, imagine him taking out he's burned it, the freaking parasite's coming out, wiggling its way, going, ah! Out comes the little space gun. And imagine Schwarzenegger looking him dead in the alien eyes and saying, "There's no body to save you now, Beetle Dick."
You and this penis is just going off.
Sci-fi. Hey, ever since Alien, sci-fi does love a phallic-looking alien, don't they? Number 2, I got 4 of these. Number 2, I know you don't like being Altarian. Let's see how you like being extra crispy. Number 3.
Oh my god. Okay.
Number 3, Earth vacation's over. Time to visit your timeshare in hell.
Oh my god. I wonder where you come up with these sometimes, Thomas.
It takes work. Number 4. and I have a busy life. I gotta devote some time to this stuff. Number 4 might be the best one, actually. I don't know. So you want to be president? In the words of a future president, you're fired.
Yes, Nate, he does this with all the episodes. Okay. The first time you've ever got to do one with Thomas, he does his Schwarzeneggerisms.
This is a worthy segment. In fact, you should have this on every podcast, regardless if Tom is available or not.
No. We only do it. This is a Thomas thing.
Yeah, because it would be cruel to try and ask every other guest to try and devote time to think of this, because it takes effort to try and write Schwarzenegger one-liners. They're not. It's not something you just dash off in an afternoon when you're driving home.
I guess the obvious Schwarzenegger line that comes to mind for me would be "Flame on, motherfucker," and just spray him with the fire.
Oh my God!
And they could have set that up. They could have set, if they had access to, Marvel rights. They could have set that.
That's right.
They could have set that up with maybe Dale's. Maybe his McLaughlin's character at one point reads a comic book with the Human Torch on it, and maybe he likes that line. That would have been great. Yes, the things we think of.
Oh my God! So for everyone listening, yes, this is. Oh my God! I don't even know what to say anymore. Other than guys, we've gone through the entire film, but I still want to know.
Oh boy! Oh wait.
No, we haven't.
Well, we don't. We've gone through the majority of it, and we've talked about a little bit of how it resolves itself in the end. But I do.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like for me, I have to talk about the ending a little bit, because for me, this movie would have been forgotten a little bit if it weren't for the very end, because it's a twist, but it's a heartwarming twist. It's not a scary twist. It's not a funny twist. It's a heartwarming twist ending, and it blew my mind. And like I said, it opens up all sorts of possibilities. In fact, if they remade the show today, that twist ending would, I think, have been like the setup for the Netflix series of this movie. So like what happens is after McLaughlin has just destroyed an alien on national TV with a flamethrower and a ray gun, which would probably have been confiscated by the cops and sent immediately to Area 51. For reasons unknown, they still put McLaughlin in the hospital, and like across the hall from where Michael Nouri is fighting for his life, and he apparently has no security over him, and maybe he figures out how to bash the security on the head or something, because he's an alien. He can do that. But he visits his partner at his bedside, and all of a sudden his heart stops, and his partner, Michael Nouri's character, dies right there in front of him. And he makes a decision in that moment, and his alien essence comes out of him. His ball of light goes out of his body and into Michael Nouri's, and his Kyle MacLachlan body slumps to the floor dead, and the nurses and everything come by and take him out. And then Michael Nouri's daughter and his whole family comes in, and he's like reaching for his daughter, and his daughter doesn't quite know what to think. She senses something's not right with Dad, and you can see on Nouri's face, like he's terrified. He's like, oh gosh, is this gonna work? Is she gonna accept me? I don't know what else to do. And then slowly she accepts him. She holds his hand, and that's it. That's how this movie ends. That's how this action horror, body horror thing, comedy, that's how this thing ends, with this touching little twist that, oh man, your quote main character is dead and now been replaced, kind of sort of, by the secondary character. This alien has become human basically by the end of this movie. And
you said,
what?
If this had been a streaming show, you theoretically could have had like a different actor in the lead every season.
Yeah, because he could go. Yeah, he could just hop from body to body, like hot potato. I mean, it's like
like Doctor Who.
Yeah, like Doctor Who.
A little bit like Altered Carbon, but that didn't really last too long. Right?
Oh yeah, I remember that show. Right, yeah. But like you could have there's so many things they could have done. Like they could have done a thing where like keep the title of The Hidden and have it be like years later he's still trying to adjust to being human. He's trying to pretend to be the guy, to be his partner, to be the guy. But he may have access to all his memories, but you know, it's effort to try and be who he is, and he maybe he discovers after a while that he just can't be this guy. He just can't pretend anymore. And maybe the plot starts when he starts, on the trail of these weird murders that happen, and maybe there's another like horde of parasitic aliens who are living under the city because they're the Hidden now. And maybe they're not bad in this version and this next one. Maybe there's refugee aliens, kind of like in Alien Nation. And then you got the government coming in. There's so many things they could have done. There's so many things. And instead, what they did, folks, they gave us basically a bad version of this movie all over again, where they say that, I hate when they do this. They do basically kind of the Alien 3 kind of thing where they kill your favorite character from the first movie. But in this version, they don't just kill him, they basically turn him into the monster of the second movie, because they explain that if the energy aliens that Kyle MacLachlan's character stay in a physical body for too long, they basically become the beetle head worm monster. So they are the same species, and then he becomes that and shields himself off from people, and then the thing comes out of him and spawns. And the spawn looks suspiciously like the alien facehugger from the Alien movies. And it just goes on, and then another cop from space, again, no spaceship, but still the same energy being species that MacLachlan was, comes to Earth and teams up with the daughter, Michael Nuri's daughter, who's now a grown woman. And they go after the new alien spawned from the alien from the previous movie. It's very complicated. The only thing
much into it because we still haven't talked about it in its own episode. We can stick to the first movie.
All I'm gonna say is the only thing, it's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. I was gonna say the only thing that was interesting in the sequel at all is that they do this fun thing that they should have done in this movie, which was there's a club scene where they're chasing the alien, and the alien goes to a random girl, starts very heavily making out with her, and the parasite comes out of his mouth and goes into her through their mouth. And then the guy just drops dead and she just goes on, and they do it like 2 or 3 times. And it's like just hot potatoing from one person to the other in this club. And I'm like, okay, that's upsetting, but clever. It's gross, but clever. That's what they would do. So that's the only thing that sticks out about the second movie to me.
Nate?
Quick point about the sequel. I would have loved it if they had titled it The Hidden 2 Revealed. Because,
yeah.
Because now, these aliens, like we said, are now public knowledge. People know that there's something going on here. You got to figure there's probably some kind of government office looking into that.
Yeah. Conspiracy nuts would have gone over that video like the Zapruder film and been like, coming up with all kinds of theories.
And 2 quick points about The Hidden. It's a movie that does not set out to be cheesy, but it does have that 1980s cheesiness creeping in at times. Particularly that scene with the alien possessed stripper, and she's being hit on by this scumbag out on the street. And no part of the dialogue of that scene feels all that natural, and he's laying it on really thick. But that's the guy who later gets boned to death. So,
he had it coming, huh?
At the end.
He had it coming.
And other thing, this is a fairly recent realization, but there's a manga called Initial D, And I noticed that the way the main character is drawn in Initial D looks a lot like Kyle MacLachlan in The Hidden.
Well, if we're talking about influences, I mean, I'll go backwards, and I think that I only say this because, like, I just recently read for the first time Robert Heinlein's *The Puppet Masters*, the novel, and it was brilliant. It's one of those books that, like, at every chance, I thought to myself, wouldn't it be great if he did this? I hope Heinlein's that smart, and he does. Like, I didn't. It's not like I was surprised by almost anything that happened in it, but like all the stuff I thought would be cool, he did. He explores it. He totally gets it. And like, spoilers, one of the things that almost never gets explored in puppet master type, parasitic thing, type movies. This is what this movie belongs to that genre, is that they never I can't think of an instance where they never ever do a story where it shows you what it is like to be possessed by one of these things, like a first person perspective. And Puppet Masters, the book, does that fairly early on in the book, and it's wild. So I think that since that book came out in like 1951, so this is pre Body Snatchers, pre that episode of Star Trek, where the original Star Trek, where those pancake-sized puppets get on the back of people's backs and control them. So that book, I think, influenced so many different science fiction depictions of parasitic aliens, and the idea of the host-alien relationship, free will, and how much does that play into it. And honestly, I think that's a little part of what led to this movie. So Puppet Masters, read it. It's more like a Cold War spy book than a sci-fi kind of adventure. There's not a lot of big set pieces in that book, but it's well worth reading.
Not like the movie?
Not like, you know what? We could put that movie on the list. I haven't seen it since the 90s, but the movie, I remember barely anything of it. The only thing I remember about it is the climax and the helicopter is pretty much what happens in the book, and I was very surprised that they kept that. Also, like mailing the puppet masters to people to get possessed, that does happen in the book a lot, so they got that going for them. But nothing else really in the book kind of translated to that movie.
I've not read the book. I have the book. I've never read the book. I've seen the movie a billion times.
I saw it once back in the 90s.
I always love that. I always love that film. I love Donald Sutherland and him and what's her face, the main actress in that movie, which I can't think of her name now because she doesn't really do much of anything anymore.
Yeah, I will say Donald Sutherland was perfectly cast as the old man in the movie, because like the old man is described in the book as having a satanic looking smile, and that's Donald Sutherland's face when he smiles. He looks like the devil. So yeah, totally. But speaking of science fiction and prestigious sci-fi, this movie did get nominated for some awards. It was nominated in 1988 for the Saturn Award for Michael Nouri for Best Actor, Jack Shoulder for Best Director, Jim Kauf, who we haven't really talked about, was nominated for Best Screenplay, and it was also nominated for Best Science Fiction Film that year. It won none of those awards, but it was great to be nominated. Okay. Not bad.
Well, no, this goes towards kind of giving people an idea of why they should see it if it's been nominated for these type of awards. Saturn Awards are very prestigious science fiction awards, so even being nominated is actually a great feat in and of itself.
Yeah.
So any other things to talk about in regards to this film?
Well, the title "The Hidden" has been used a couple times by a couple different films. It's worth noting that this is the 1987 The Hidden, not to be confused with a 2015 movie called Hidden, which was directed by the Duffer Brothers, no less.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Stranger Things, just something I came across while looking into this. But, yeah.
Okay. How about you, Thomas?
Well, like I said, folks, this movie is worth seeking out. It's got a little cult, and you should join it because it's very enjoyable. It's a good cult to be part of.
Google goggle, one of us, one of us.
It's not a toxic cult, and they're very enthusiastic. And like I said, I mean, I would say, like somebody mentioned, I think it was you, Nate, who mentioned earlier that this movie makes for good sit on the couch and beer drinking type thing. And I think you can probably put it in a nice double feature with something like
They Live. This would
what?
pair great with They Live.
They Live. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good pull. That's a good pull. I would also pull something a little bit more obscure and put on like Dark Angel with Dolph Lundgren, otherwise known as
I Come in Peace.
Yes, I Come in Peace.
I hate that Dark Angel title.
Me too. But it's totally...
the movie with the flying CD. That's what it is.
Yes, the flying CD and these aliens with white eyes who go around collecting spinal fluid from humans because it's a really powerful narcotic out in space, unbeknownst to us. And Dolph Lundgren runs around shooting people, and it's great.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's saddled with that shitty name, Dark Angel. Now,
I just pretend it's still called I Come in Peace. Like I saw it on TV as I Come in Peace.
Well, that's how it was originally released on video. As I Come in Peace. I don't actually know when they changed the title. I know that the Blu-ray that you find nowadays is Dark Angel. I still have a VHS copy of this movie as I Come in Peace. I grew up with it as I Come in Peace.
Do you happen to know if there's any other differences between the two movies besides the title change? The releases, I should say.
Just the title change, and I don't know exactly why there is a title change. Although now that we've been talking about this film, we will have to add this to our list because this would fit perfectly with what we're talking about. Because it's not just an action sci-fi film, but it actually has horror elements in it. Because people get the hell killed in this movie left and right. I love those type of movies.
Oh yeah. So then, how would we rate this movie, gentlemen?
That's where I was getting to. If you let me get there. So everyone listening to the show, we like to rate the movies between 1 and 5. 1 being poor, 5 being excellent. But when it comes to our special episodes with Thomas Tenorello, we kind of sometimes pull a little something from the movie itself in order to rate it. So, Thomas, would you like to take it away from me now?
Yes, I would. Well, what he refers to, ladies and gentlemen, is pulling something. That sounds a little risque, so I'm just going to specify. I'm going to be more specific. Where I'd like to take an object from the movie that I feel defines it in some way. You know, it could be the MacGuffin. It could be a piece of set dressing or something random. You know, and for me, I wrote down. I'm going to rate this movie 3.5, not quite a whole, but 3.5 silver alien space guns out of 5. But now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I should rate this thing 3.5, not quite a whole, maybe cut off in the middle, giant worm, penis beetle alien.
Dude, you're about to steal mine, okay?
All right, I'll stick with the space gun, then. You can stick with your penis monster alien thing.
I'll do mine before you do yours, Nate, so you get a better idea of what we're doing. So I'm going to rate it 4 of Thomas's penis aliens out of 5. I had to put Thomas in there because, Thomas, you're the only person who sees that.
I mean, his head does resemble a little bit more of what's called a rhino beetle.
I have always saw it as an insect-like alien. So, a date.
Well, let me see here. The first thing that popped into mind was burst from a flamethrower. But you know what? I'm going to rate this somewhere between 3.5 to 4 alien strippers falling off a building. You know what? We'll go with that.
That is actually a really good one, Nate. I'm glad that you're joining us. All right. So, everyone, we hope that you have enjoyed this episode of Conversations in Horror. I want to thank my guests, Nate and Thomas, for joining me on discussing the 1987 film, The Hidden. We talked a little bit about the sequel, and I guess we'll have to do its own episode in a future episode of the show. From everyone here at Something Wicked Entertainment, I want you to go out there and like, share, follow, subscribe. Do that thing you do with your favorite podcast, because we do not want you to miss a single episode ever. Regular episodes are every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Specially themed months, we do a special episode every Monday at 8 a.m. You can also check us out on, I think I've already mentioned all the great things you can check us out on, your favorite podcast ad. But don't forget to check out our Patreon exclusive sister podcast, Conversations in 4Color, which is all about comic books, manga, and graphic novels. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, we want to wish you a pleasant day. And remember to leave comments in for the podcast, especially about any films you would like us to discuss, because we are always looking for new films to add to our list. Have a great day.
I want to be president.
Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production. Written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers. Executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.